Hello there. I haven't had as much time to record entire leagues lately, um, so I thought I might just record a single match. Lately, I have been playing a version of Ben Friedman's Blue Black Shadow deck, which, for those not familiar, it's a blue black shadow deck that does not play Delver. Instead, it cuts them for Jace Vryn's Prodigies. The original had a Liliana the Last Hope, but I replaced that with a Fatal Push. I also realized I was taking a lot of damage when I had 3 Dismembers, so I replaced one of those with a Fatal Push. Other than that, the deck is mostly the same. Still plays 3 Hymn to Torok. Still has the same sort of threats and everything. The original version I tried had Brazen Borrowers, but I ended up not really liking them as much. It felt like the deck was too mana hungry, so I replaced them with 1 Fatal Push and Reanimate. That said, it does make the Depths matchup worse because I also took the Diabolic Edicts out of the sideboard for Eliminates because, we're in the Oko meta now, so I thought having something that also answers like Oko and Little Teferi would be better to have in that slot. Also, there's Narset Parter Veils instead of Liliana the Last Hope, and there's also Plague Engineer instead of like Toxic Deluge and one of the other removal spells. But I still have the Snapcaster. Oh yeah, and instead of the 3rd Surgical Extraction, I have the 1st Nihil Spell Bomb. So, we got a match here. Let's go ahead and see what we get. Gonna mulligan this hand as it has no lands. Also going to mulligan this hand as it has no lands. So this hand has some lands. I don't know what my opponent is on. I will keep, and I guess I'll put the removal on the bottom because, if they're a creature deck, we can still force a creature, but we can't really use removal on a spell-based combo deck, if that happens to be what our opponent is playing. So I think I might just play the Pluto Delta and pass here. I don't really want to ponder, because then I run the risk of not finding another blue card. And I'd like to have the Force of Will up just in case our opponent is playing something with Chalice or something like that. Okay. I'd like to draw another blue card so we could ponder without being completely shields down. Or if, we draw Thoughtseize or something, then we can sort of see what our opponent is up to. They do not shuffle their library. So, I think I'll play this Pluto Delta. I feel like we kind of need to get something going. And I'm a little bit less afraid of using this Ponder now. Since we have this Death Shadow in hand, I'm going to fetch a Watery Grave. Okay. Underground Sea, not the best, but we can draw this Daze and then shuffle, or draw the Street Wraith and then shuffle that Underground Sea away. There's another Ponder. Totally fine. So they could be on some sort of snow control deck. They could be on Omnitel. I'm going to go ahead and let's get another Watery Grave, which when combined with our Street Wraith Life Loss makes it so we can now play our Death Shadow. Perhaps first I will Brainstorm, however. It doesn't look like this Wasteland is going to be very useful. So I might actually put it on top and then put it on the bottom or shuffle it away with Preordain or Ponder. I think I'll put Preordain next, and I think I want to use the Thoughtseize here to clear the way for my Death Shadow first. They might have Brainstorm or something. That's fine. There could be a case to dazing this Brainstorm, but I prefer to hold it in this situation, because it's not like this brainstorm is going to be extremely efficient anyways. Okay, so it looks like a snow-based control deck. I think so. They have multiple forces of will. They have Flusterstorm, Days Undoing. I think I'm going to take the Narset here, because even though we have the Days for it, they can obviously fight back, and we could fight back against that, but I don't know. Just seemed like the best card to take there, because I don't want them to. I don't want to run the risk of them resolving the Narset at any point and then being able to do the Days Undoing. So they don't have removal. They do have counterspell for our Death Shadow. I think I'm going to Ponder. And they're brainstorming in response. That's fine. Brainstorm, Brainstorm, Wasteland. I think I'm going to shuffle that. Against, him. That's one of the best cards to draw there. I mean, they do have a lot of ways to fight the him, but... So now I think I'm going to play the Death Shadow. And that is met with a Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. I could fight that. Yeah, no, I can't really, because they have the Flusterstorm, so they're going to win any fight. Of course, then that gets the Flusterstorm out of the way. I think I will fight that, pitching Preordain. I'd like to make them use their Flusterstorm, which will allow this him to resolve. Of course, him isn't going to be, like, amazing, because it's probably going to hit that Euro, but I kind of do want to resolve this him before I actually do stick a threat. Yeah, it's possible that maybe this counter war was one that I did not want to get involved in, but I think I will just we'll play it out and we'll see what happens here. I mean, of course, we do have days for the eventual Euro flashback, or not flashback, but escape. If Euro tries to escape, we always have a days to sort of cover it. Hopefully, they don't find any more lands. Astrolabe, that's fine. We're going to him. Ice Fang. That I can daze, and then that frees us up to Preordain as well this turn. Of course, we are getting to a little bit of a low life total. Okay, we hit Euro and Days Undoing, so they have one unknown card in hand, and they can possibly escape next turn. I think I like these cards. We'll put them on top. Nice, and they are still stuck on 3 lands. So let's play Angler first to see if they have a way of stopping it. Just kind of carefully picking what to exile because we can end up flashing this stuff back later with Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So Angler has resolved. And Ponder is Force of Negation. There is a Noble Hierarch, which is going to allow him to flashback this year, or escape the Euro, and a Swords to Plowshares for my Angler. Flooded Strand is not the best. So overall, this is not a great matchup, but one that I feel will improve after sideboarding. I'm pretty dead here, but we'll see if we can get rid of some cards first. I need to draw like Brainstorm into Fatal Push, or maybe Death Shadow this turn. But even Death Shadow doesn't really do it necessarily, it just keeps us in the game. And there's a Force of Will, so we'll just concede. Okay, playing against some sort of snow control deck. So I'm going to bring in the Plague Engineers for Ice Fangs, going to bring in the Narsets, because they're just kind of good in general. Going to bring in the Eliminates because they are better than Snuff Out and Fatal Push, just because they can also answer Narset and Oko. Snapcaster is good. Gonna bring in the Yard Hate. That is quite a few cards to bring in. We're gonna board out the Wastelands because they can fully operate off of basic lands. Fatal Push is not the greatest. Dismember is not the greatest. Daze is kind of also not really the greatest card against them. Let's take a look here. I think I might board out one Thoughtseize because it's not really the best top deck. And Daze loses its power pretty quickly over the course of the game. We still have a high blue count for Force, so I think this is fine. However, I'm not the biggest fan of Reanimate, but I guess it's fine. Yeah, I think I'll submit this. It's a little weird going down to only 14 lands, especially when we do have like Plague Engineer and Narset. So maybe I'll bring back in one Wasteland and we can cut the Reanimate, I think, is probably fine, since their removal is Swords to Plowshares. we're not going to end up with many creatures in the yard in the first place, unless, they get abrupt decayed. But I'm not sure if our opponent's list even plays abrupt decay. So we will play first. That does not have any lands. So kind of a couple of unfortunate mulligans here, but you do what you can. I'm going to keep this, and I feel like Plague Engineer is probably the least helpful card in this hand for now. First off, I'm going to cycle Street Wraith, see if we hit a Thoughtseize. Okay, guess not. We'll just play our Underground Sea and pass. Kind of unfortunate having to mulligan against the deck with basically limitless amounts of card advantage. I think I'm going to go for the double him here instead of trying to stick any sort of threat. We're going to get Watery Grave as we have a shadow that we want to play. Okay, Blood Moon. Well, I'm happy we got that out of the hand. I think I'm going to cast another hymn. Well, we still got 2 cards out of their hand, so that's fine. Hopefully we can dodge another Blood Moon, because that will basically win the game on the spot for them. Okay, it's an Oko. Oko kind of wins the game on the spot for them. We can still find an eliminate or pressure it maybe with some threat or another. I think maybe Thoughtseizing here is the best play. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast. Well, we'll take one of those, and we'll leave up Stubborn Denial, I guess. Kind of unfortunate that, I mean, I'm happy our hymn hit the Blood Moon, so... All right. So we can play Shadow here. And I guess we draw out the Red Elemental Blast with this Jace. Yeah. So Death Shadow's probably just going to get elked. I think at this point we really need Eliminate for the Oko. That's a bummer. However, we do have Snapcaster Thoughtseize. Okay, we can at least Thoughtseize that. But we're still in quite a bit of trouble. I think we have to force them to trade here or risk losing their Narset. Swords to plowshares. So we can play the Plague Engineer. We could play Spell Bomb, but I don't feel like Spell Bomb is great. There's no Euro in the graveyard. I think I am going to play the Plague Engineer. I guess I can name Elk, but Snake might be better. I think I'm going to name Elk, which slows down their clock a little bit. Okay, so he traded the food for the engineer. Makes sense, I guess. Let's ponder. Seems like they're going to counter it with something. Okay. There's a Death Shadow followed by Ponder, which I suppose is not the worst. Ah. Yep, the Narset. So I'm going to play Spellbomb here. And they are getting the Day's Undoing. So we are pretty screwed at this point. They are going to play that Day's Undoing, and I mean, we were kind of screwed by the Oko anyway. We just never drew an out, and sometimes that's how it goes. Definitely don't really like playing against Snow with this deck, so yeah, I guess I'll just concede. Sometimes you play against a bad matchup and you have to mulligan several times. That's kind of what happened here. Maybe I'll play one more match here, because that was kind of anticlimactic. Pretty utterly terrible matchup. A lot of Swords to Plowshares, a lot of Red Elemental Blasts, but of course, you know, when you don't mulligan so much, it usually isn't quite as bad. So we won the roll. We will play first. I think I'll keep this hand. So we'll start on Polluted Delta to be Wasteland proof on our first turn. I don't think I'm going to counter that. So we'll play Watery Grave here. Part of me just kind of wants to run this Jace out there. Then again, we do have a fetch land that we can use for this Jace Friends. Or I mean, sorry, a fetch land that we can use to shuffle after Brainstorming, and I have a feeling these Wastelands aren't going to be very great. I'm going to put back one Wasteland, and I think I will put back the Angler for now, as it's going to be a while before we're going to be able to, you know, get enough Delve cards in the graveyard. And after that, I think we will just pass the turn, shuffle those cards away at the end of their turn. Next turn, play Hymn to Torok. And wasteland their tropical island, I suppose. Seems pretty strong to me. Dreadhorde Arcanist. This I'm going to daze. Because it's pretty powerful. Okay, they force. I think in response to that, I'm going to fetch up another Watery Grave so we can get Shadow online sooner rather than later. And I'm going to Brainstorm, hoping to hit a Daze or a Force of Will. Or if we find removal, I might just... Okay, so there is neither. However, we do have a pretty strong turn next turn. Okay. So we can either Thoughtseize and play a Shadow that's big, kind of big for this Dreadhorde. Yeah, I think I like that plan. We are going to pay 2 life, and because I want to get this creature, the Death Shadow, online sooner rather than later, I'm going to Thoughtseize them. We are... Ooh. Okay, so I don't really like them having any of these cards, but obviously Swords to Plowshares is the one that is the worst for us. So I'm going to now play my Death Shadow. Of course, they are just going to be able to flash that back with Arcanist, but you know, you got to kind of tank through it when you don't have removal for this Arcanist. And this way we can at least play an unmolested Jace. Yep. Kind of a bummer. We ended up playing against 2 snow control decks, which are basically the worst matchup for us. Or one of... Nah, I wouldn't say that necessarily, but yeah, I think it's probably one of Death Shadow's worst matchups. Alright, they found another land. So, we have to ask ourselves, what is the best thing to do here? We can play 2 spells. If we play Death Shadow and Jace Vryn's Prodigy, we could waste them off their tropical island. Of course, then they're going to play the Ice Fang. They have an Oko in hand, so maybe the priority this turn is wasting their tropical island. And then we try and hit the Oko with our Hymn. They're probably going to play the Ice Fang. But it's not like they weren't going to play the Ice Fang anyway. Well, they might not play the Ice Fang. I don't really see any reason why they wouldn't. And they are bolting me. Okay, interesting. And him resolved. We got the Ice Fang in the Oko. Okay, I guess they just want to close out the game. The interesting thing is, we are going to have a pretty nice sized Shadow next turn. So they're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that. They did not shuffle, so something tells me they probably did, or maybe they found a land, because they probably want to hit their land drops. It's an Astrolabe. Yeah, there's another land. We will play our Shadow here. Oh god, that's a terrible card for them to have. There's nothing we can do about it though. Well, that buys us a little time, and it's not like they have any terribly good cards to flashback. Okay, now they do. They're ripping pretty well. Yeah, that brainstorm there is painful. So they are up a lot of cards. We really need to find one of our removal spells for this Arcanist. We have kind of steered the game to a point where we're not in like the absolute worst position, but you know, we gotta find something soon. Okay, Fatal Push. I think that's fine. We're gonna do it during their upkeep. So hopefully they don't have a Force of Negation. Okay, they didn't. Another Brainstorm. So maybe they won't be able to play around Daze here. Maybe we can get some value out of this Daze. Okay, another Brainstorm. So, when they eventually escape this, I think they're going to be able to play around Daze anyway. So I'm thinking I might Daze this just for the sake of preventing the draw a card trigger. Now we'll play our Jace. They're probably going to flashback the Euro, and then we need to start figuring something out. We can crack this fetch and flashback Fatal Push next turn, so that's something that we can do. If they don't, and it doesn't look like they will have an answer for our Jace here, so... Alright. I mean, they could still find an answer, I guess. They would need a land and their last card to be a removal spell, so... So we get a little filtration here. Let's go ahead and crack this. I think I'll get an Underground Sea here. And we will flashback our Fatal Push. Which deals with that Euro for now. Not really, but kinda. And I think I'll Thoughtseize them. Force of Will and Sylvan Library. I'm going to take the Sylvan Library because they have a very high life total, and they would be able to pretty easily turn that into, you know, turn their life into a significant number of cards from their library. So we need to find an out for the Euro. I mean, Euro's just doing what Euro does. Drawing cards, gaining life. Dismember doesn't quite do it. You can play this Jace, though. They're attacking... We'll let that trigger resolve. God, they have 5 cards in hand. Yeah, we are so dead. I'm just going to let that resolve. Okay. Let's start with a Ponder. None of these cards do anything. Let us flashback, Ponder. None of these cards do anything. Now we will filter. Stubborn Denial does not do anything. And now let's, I guess, flashback Brainstorm. I mean, we could still find a Death Shadow here. So we just didn't find anything. We will concede. So again, I'm going to bring in the Snapcaster, the Eliminates. Going to bring in the Spell Bomb and maybe just a single Surgical. Going to bring in the Narset and the Plague Engineers. And I think I'm going to cut 2 Wastelands. I'm going to cut a Shadow because they have Swords to Plowshares, so it's not like Shadow's the best card. Going to cut Fatal Push. Going to cut Reanimate because... I mean, they do have some cards that make me think Reanimate would be okay, like reanimating their Dreadhorde Arcanist seems okay, and they have Lightning Bolt, so, you know, if one of our Shadows bites the dust or something to a Lightning Bolt, although I probably will avoid playing it when they're in Lightning Bolt range. I think I can cut the Dismembers because, you know, that's not as good as Eliminate. And we need to cut 2 more cards. I'm going to shave a single Thoughtseize because it gets worse the longer the game goes on. And I'm going to shave a Daze because that's just like not the best card. I'm going to keep the 2 Stubborn Denials because, you know, if we end up with a Shadow or a Gurmag, that, you know, is just a solid 1-for-1 with the Swords to Plowshares. So I think that looks okay. This is an extremely difficult matchup though, and pretty much no matter how we prepare, you know, they're just going to have a lot of really good cards against us. We will play first. This hand, gosh, if it had any kind of cantrip, I would probably keep it, but sadly, I don't think we can keep this because my plan is to play a Flooded Strand and then do nothing. Oh, I accidentally just kept it. That was not what I intended to do, but damn, I meant to hit mulligan. Sometimes recording these games just kind of makes you stupider. So if we don't get a land on the top, off the top, things start to look pretty grim, or any kind of cantrip. Yeah, I totally, completely messed this up. Oh well, you know, that's Magic. Sometimes you just... Well, at least that's Magic Online. Sometimes you just click the wrong button. So we don't have a Shadow, but I think I'm going to fetch the Watery Grave anyway, because, you know, when you're playing against a Swords to Plowshares deck, you can sort of be... you can sort of be liberal with your life. We're gonna have to draw these cards later, but we don't need them at the moment. Play the watery grave, pay the life anyway. At least we have kind of some action. Like we have him. If they play a Euro, we're just going to surgically extract it. Yeah, that's fine. There's the land. I'm just going to pay the life. So we're going to take a picture of their hand here. They have a very good hand. And we're going to be able to untap and him. I will snap daze this brainstorm, which I suspect they're going to do. Because the longer this game goes, the more daze loses its value. So we got rid of Brainstorm, we got rid of Swords to Plowshares, and we got rid of Clothis, which is very good. We have an eliminate for their remaining Dreadhorde Arcanist. Yeah, I'm feeling alright about how this has gone now. I mean, it's still going to take a bit for us to get out of this, but not feeling super bad. Okay. Ice Fang. I really don't think I can counter the Ice Fang. But that thing's going to start... Oh, wait, I have Plague Engineer on top of my library, so I think I'm hoping to just draw a land and then cast the Plague Engineer naming Snake. Whew. We know they have Arcanist and Brainstorm. There's the Arcanist. So I'm going to just go ahead and eliminate this now. And please, please let there be a land on top of my library. Yeah, that I am forcing immediately. Unfortunately, I'll have to use my other Force of Will on it too. I think their last card is a Brainstorm, so they're wondering if they should, like, Desperation Brainstorm here. I'm fine with them I mean, like, you know, that, like, a Desperation Brainstorm here is a chance at finding a way to counter my second Force of Will, but I don't think they're going to find it. I mean, you never know. Okay, they fetched, but then they didn't do anything with it. Okay. So if we find a land and we can play our Plague Engineer here, I'm actually feeling a little bit better. Okay, Thoughtseize. And their last card is Brainstorm. I'm not going to Thoughtseize them because I think we want to conserve our life total now. It's very possible we just sort of brick on lands, and that's an easy way for us to lose this game. They could continue to draw into like various kind of gas cards that pressure our life total. Thoughtseize, bad draw. It's possible maybe I should actually even board out more Thoughtseizes. I took out one. I mean, like, they're kind of good sometimes, but you know, when you get into this like top decking mode, they're pretty bad. We're going to play this angler here. We're going to get rid of Flooded Strand. Days, we're going to get rid of the forces, and I guess I'll get rid of him, and I guess I'll get rid of the Brainstorm. Okay. That gives us more chances to draw land and makes our Thoughtseizes a little better, so honestly that's not like the worst thing in the world. I'll start off with Brainstorm. Okay. I actually should have put one engineer back, and maybe I could have had a chance to Thoughtseize them before committing to anything here. Ouch. So if that was in their hand, I feel like they would have played that last turn if it was in their hand. So maybe not keeping a Thoughtseize there was a big mistake. I'm open to that possibility. We are taking 4. Let's just play this to get rid of their Ice Fang. They could sack their Oko to trade their Astrolabe for my engineer, but I don't feel like that's very good. I think they'll probably just elk this, continue swinging, and then I have to trade with one. But who knows? Yeah, that seems like the strongest play from their side. Force me to trade away this Plague Engineer. I go to 3. And now I have to play this Plague Engineer to defend myself. And we're going to name Elk. I could have named Wizard or Snake there too, but I don't know. Okay, interesting. We are going to play Narset. Hoping to find Eliminate. Ooh, Lightning Bolt. Yeah, we're just dead. Alright, kind of an unconventional snowko deck there with red, but we lost. I didn't even really mean to keep that hand anyway, so, you know, we kind of stumbled there a little bit. Unfortunate. You know, I started off 2-1 and then lost the next 2 to snowko, but perhaps it's kind of a testament to the fact that this deck sort of disappeared. You can't really eke out these incremental advantages against snow in the typical way that this deck wanted to. And I think maybe the sort of more tempo-oriented Death Shadow list with Delver might just be objectively stronger, but I wanted to see, you know, what this was like. And I played a couple leagues with it, went 2-3 in both of them. So, you know, I don't think it's like great or anything, but, you know, it was interesting to give it a try. It seems like it would have been a lot better sort of in the pre-Oko days. But nowadays, I don't know if this can really hang with the big boys. Yeah, it just isn't quite doing enough, and sort of just, you know, doesn't have the card advantage or any kind of way to go under the snow decks. Well, anyhow, thanks for watching. Maybe I'll record some more in the near future, but I'll see you guys around.